This video is for homework in Mastery 1.7, more on algebraic expressions. What we want to do here is look at how we're going to evaluate expressions and also translate more complex expressions from words into numbers and symbols. So let's look at first translations. Looking at these two, we want to translate using numbers and symbols. 3 times x plus 4. 5 times the sum of x and 8. We have to be careful here. The first one says 3 times x plus 4. This does not say anything such as 3 times the sum or anything like that. They both have that there's going to be an addition in there because they both say plus or they both say sum. The first one says plus, the second one says sum. They both have the word times in there. The way they're going to be written is going to be completely different. Notice, the first one has 3x plus 4. That is because it just says 3 times x plus 4. Just the way it's written. 3 times x plus 4. The second one has 3 times the sum. Anytime you have 3 times the sum or 3 times the difference, that means you want to put that sum or the difference in parentheses. Set it apart from the multiplication on the outside. So that is why I have written it 5 and then open parentheses, x plus 8, close parentheses. These are going to be very important to us. Make sure that you look at some more examples of these throughout the homework. Also, if you need a handout or anything like that, we do have some of those. Please feel free to ask us or anything. This one just asks us to evaluate. We have 3a plus 4 divided by 5. And we want to say that a is equal to 7. So what that means is we're going to replace the a in our expression with the number 7, as I have done here. Notice I've put it in red, that way you can identify what I have done. I've replaced this a with this 7. And then I'm going to follow my order of operations, working on this right-hand side of my expression. Looking at this, I do have parentheses. So I want to do everything inside that parentheses first. So looking inside this parentheses, I do not have any exponents, but I do have the multiplication. So I want to do the multiplication first. 3 times 7, which gives me 21. Then I still want to continue working inside the parentheses. So I want to do 21 plus 4, which will give me 25. Then I want to do my division, 25 divided by 5. Anytime something is written in a fraction form like this, that is the same thing as 25 divided by 5. This line right here, this fraction bar, does mean to divide. So 25 divided by 5 is 5. Let's look at another example. I want to evaluate 4x plus 4y plus 3 for x equal to 2 and y equal to 7. I realize some of you are probably panicking now that I've thrown in x's and y's. Don't panic at this point, please. Notice I'm just going to replace them with numbers again. So the first step is go ahead and replace your variables, your x and y, with the numbers. That's what I've done here. I've taken 4x plus 4y plus 3, and I've replaced the x with the 2, as it tells me to, and I've replaced the y with the 7, as it tells me to. Then I can proceed with doing this problem right here and working it out. What I want to do is I want to look and say, do I have any parentheses? No. Do I have any exponents? No. I do have some multiplication and division. I just have multiplication. So I need to do the multiplication from left to right. 4 times 2 would be 8. And then I can go ahead and do this 4 times 7, which would be 28. Now then, I'm strictly left with addition. 8 plus 28 plus 3, which would give me 39. We have this rule. It's called the distributive rule. What it means is that if I have a number sitting out in front of my parentheses, I can distribute it and multiply it by each item inside the parentheses. Now notice, that is only in a case if they're right next to each other, if that means to take the A times the entire thing. A times the entire set of parentheses. So I'm going to take A times my B and A times my C, as I have done here. A times B plus A times C. Notice I left the plus in there just like it was in the parentheses. Or I can do the same thing over here. A times B and A times C, leaving my subtraction in between. So let's look at some examples of this. Here's one where I'd use the distributive property to simplify 4 times the sum of x plus 3. I took my 4 and I distributed it into my parentheses. I took 4 times my x and 4 times my 3. And I got 4 times x plus 4 times 3. I multiplied each term in the parentheses by 4. Then 4 times x just gives me 4x, and 4 times 3 gives me 12. This is all that I can do because this term has an x and this term does not. I cannot combine them. Please do not combine them. These are unlike terms at this point. They cannot be combined. So this would be my final answer. So let's look at some other examples. Here, use the distributive property to simplify. Be careful here. Notice, the 3 is multiplied by the sum of x plus 2, and then I want to add a 5 to it. The 3 will be distributed to the x and the 2. It does not get distributed to this 5 because the 5 is not inside the parentheses. You stop at the end of the parentheses, as I have done here. I've taken the 3 times the x plus 3 times 2, and then I've just tacked on the 5. Do not multiply the 3 times the 5. It is not inside the parentheses. Now I can simplify 3 times x plus 3 times 2, which is 6, plus 5. Looking at this, I want to see if there are any like terms. If there are, I want to simplify them. And in this case, there are. I can take the 6 plus the 5 and get 11. So I have 3x plus 11. Again, the 3x and the 11 are unlike terms. I cannot combine them. One has an x, one does not. So this would be my final answer. Again, notice I did not multiply it by the 3 by the 5. You really have to be careful with the distributive property to make sure that you stop at the end of the parentheses. These are some very good things to be able to use when we're working with algebra, to be able to simplify, because some of the numbers, we may look at them and say, I can't do anything with that. But we can actually simplify them and make them a little bit easier to work with. So go ahead, work on your homework. If you need help or need extra practice, let one of us know.